Hi, welcome to another episode of the Weekly Check-In. I'm your host, Veronica White, and I have joining me today Melody Sappho, a very good friend, over 20 plus years.
Yes.
So I'm gonna let her introduce herself first, and then I'm going to introduce my other two co.
Yes. My name is Melanie Sappho. Again, I'm a good friend of Veronica for over 20 years. I wasn't planning on being on here today, but it is a pleasure to be on here with the lovely ladies, and hopefully I can learn something as well as we can reach out to some other people.
Awesome, thank you. So next is Keisha. Keisha, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Keisha L. Blair, corporate trainer, workshop facilitator, and podcast host of Alpha Intuition.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Francis, you're up next.
Hey everyone, Francis Hawkins with Life Insurance and Investing. Just to be here to educate you on the importance of investing for your retirement and the proper type of life insurance.
Okay, so hi, I'm Veronica White. I have a nonprofit. It's called Help from a Sister, where we cater to single parents that have a child on the autism spectrum. So thank you for tuning in today. Our topic, again, is we're following the theme of Black History Month and what Black history means to us. And now we want to bring it closer to our generation versus our children's generation or the generation after them. Like, what messages are we passing down that we've learned, that we've experienced, or just some information that was very good resources for us? We want to pass that down to the next generation. So I have a couple of questions that we're going to go over today. So my first question is, how can we encourage young people to embrace their history while being an agent for change? So is there anyone that want to take that topic first?
I think I'll start it off. So when I think about being an agent for change while embracing history, makes me think about just leadership in general. And basically for the children, I try to, with my own children, I try to be a little bit different than what my parents were with me. And I try to meet them where they are, as opposed to just saying, okay, well, I can't understand what that music is doing. I don't want to learn this and whatever. I can't help you. I ask questions. And instead of just, they like to text and do all these apps. So, for me, I try to make sure that I figure out what they like and then meet them where they are. And then because in order to change something, you have to figure out where they are in that moment in order to change it. So for me, I just try to meet them where they are first and then learn the platform to where whatever they're working on. And then let's work on changing it from that point. So when you talk about the history and incorporating that, it's more so about trying to figure out what they're learning now in school, because, it's nothing close to what we learned, and then find out where the gaps are and then try to fill those gaps.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. One of the things that I feel as humans, young as well as us, is time management. I believe we should try to set aside a time where we actually sit and then we go over some of the history. Because when we sat talking about history, I'm 47. I have a sister that's 34. And as I explained to her some of the history in our family that my older sister that I don't know about, and it was like really an eye-opener for her. So just to sit and talk is one of the things that we can do as far as history goes. And then again, we do need to listen to them also for the new generation, so we can kind of collaborate and put those together as one. So I think it's more about knowing your history. That's your immediate family history as well as your ancestors.
Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Francis, did you have something to say on the topic?
Yes. For me, it's to how to help from the history of relationship with my children, and by now my children are having children. and doing a totally different approach from what I was doing when I was raising them when they were young, to be able to change that history with them, because it was more like, didn't nobody give us the book on how to be a parent. We had to learn from our parents and things of that nature, and then they had the parenting classes, so forth and so on. So my son and I was just talking the other day, and I was telling him I'm doing more talking instead of yelling, because I need to hear you. I need to understand. I need to, change that past history to help you better for your children, to be able to communicate with them as well. Um, I thought that was very important, because he looked at me a little different, like, she is seriously not yelling. We are actually, now you're an adult. We are actually having a conversation, so I think that's very imperative to sit back and just take a look, and to be able to implement some things different from the past to deal with the present and going into the future, because our grandkids are a part of our future now. So we have to better help, from what we've done in the past with our own children, to help them with theirs.
And that's true. So I'm gonna piggyback on that, because I know when I was raising my son and daughter, I was a little more lenient. I wasn't as stern as I should be. But now when it comes to my grandchildren, I don't play with them. I'm stricter, because I know that if I don't teach you this, you got to go into the world.
Right.
So it's me sitting up, having conversations with him, letting him know how it was when I was growing up, and how his dad, how their dad grew up, and they looking. But I'm like, some things you're not getting away with it. You can't do that because he did it. So that's another thing to share and to let them know, like, yeah, no, we were not all angels. Everyone makes mistakes. We all fall.
Mm-hmm.
We all fail at something. We just don't stay down. We don't stay there.
Yes, definitely. And it's good because, like you just said, with the grandchildren, like my granddaughter, I start identifying things with her. And when I call her on it, she gets quiet. But no, I have to tell you, I know what you're doing, so you can stop doing it. I'm not going to just tell you, like when my mom was raising us, my mom didn't give us a reason why to stop. She just say, don't do it. You can't do it. No. But if she would have been more open and saying, this is why I'm telling you not to do it, on a lot of things she was telling me not to do, I would have been more open and accepting to not doing it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because she gave me a reason to take a look at something. Okay, so this is why she's telling me not to do it, instead of just saying, don't do it. And of course, if she tells you don't do it, it's your mom, you don't do it. But I'm looking, I'm like, okay. And older, well, if she would have gave me a reason, I would have been more open into not doing it than just being hard-headed and go do it anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Or couldn't wait for the time to be able to do it.
That's true. But you know what my son told me one time? He said, Mom, sometimes I got to bump my head. I was like, son, if I'm telling you don't go outside because it's raining, you're going to go out there with an umbrella? I've already gave you the information. He's like, yeah, but sometimes I got to have experiences. Okay, well, me, I'm a little different, because some of those, if somebody already been through it and I saw where they're coming, I'm going to go a different way. I'm not going to go that same path and say, oh, I'm going to be different. It's not.
Exactly.
But you do have those children out there that say, yeah, that happened to you. That might not happen to me.
Yeah,
and they go out there and do it.
That makes me think of, even when you deal with having daughters and having sons, because sometimes sons may be a little bit more adventurous, where your daughters may be a little bit more cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Okay, so what resources, programs, or tools can we help them develop to help them develop their leadership and self-confidence? So one aspect is leadership. The second one, which is more important, is that self-confidence to start trusting and believing in their intuition and what's internally the decisions they're making to go internally. Yes, had a conversation, but also go with your gut feeling because that's not going to mislead you.
Yeah.
How do we pass that information along? Or
Well,
is there a program that we can create to bridge that gap?
I'm excited about this one. You're talking about, mentorships and coaching and skill trades and just leadership. So that's like, I'm excited. You see, I keep trying to hop in, right? So, but anytime it comes to children, that's one thing I'm passionate about is making sure that children know that they have options. Of course, going to college is definitely one path, but there's also skilled trades. There's also other paths that children can take. And then we have entrepreneurship that's hot and heavy right now. So just to be that person who encourages them to follow their gut feeling. And I tell my children, I want you to follow your dream, but you also have to have a way to fund your dream. So, you got to make sure that you're doing these other things. You have to do what you have to do the things that you want to do. But ultimately, even when they bump their head and they do things that are not right, don't beat them down. We have to make sure that we talk to them and encourage them to continue on because, just because you fall down doesn't mean that you can't get back up. And most of the time, just like your son said, sometimes he has to bump his head. When you bump your head, you're going to get back up and you know what not to do the next time. But that doesn't mean that you stop.
That is true. No, that's a good advice. Great.
I find myself by being into finances and things of that nature, being more animate with my children about it due to the simple fact I'm more alert about it. I'm seeing what's going on where they're not really paying attention because they're living it, as they would say, they live in their best life, and I've made mistakes. I've done things, I know they're going to need money for a rainy day. So what I've stopped doing was, again, like badgering, not yelling, but just badgering and just asking them questions. What do you want? Where do you see yourself in the future? Are you thinking about inflation that's going to happen, or you're going to like the price of eggs? I try to bring things more to their awareness to be able to make them think and say, no, I don't want to live like that. Yes, I do want to live like this. And knowing that a rainy day will come, and things to that nature. So I try to be more now in a communication type thing instead of just a fussing type thing. Don't do this. Don't do this. Why are you doing this? And trying to understand them. So if we could try to understand them and where they're at, I think they will probably be more opening to where we're coming from and not and stop thinking that we were born last night. Stop thinking that, like they're not thinking that we once was teenagers, that, and things of that nature, that we didn't learn something coming along the way that we're trying to implement differently. So today I took my son to the store and he had a couple of dollars. And I said to him, I said, oh, where you get some money from? He said, well, I didn't spend the money that I had. I kept it because I know you would have said, oh, you want to spend my money, but you want to hold on to your money. I said, oh, so you do listen. So I get, okay, now I see that you do listen. So it just opened up for me to do more trying to communicate instead of being upset and giving them more, ways of, hey, you make a mistake, it can be corrected. But do you want to correct it? Do you want to be better? And things to that nature. So yeah, just looking to help implement a change within them. Again, like I said, for them to be better for their children. Yeah.
Awesome.
One thing, I was blessed with having 6 children. They're 21 to 31 right now. And
Okay.
coming up as a single mom, I always wanted to treat everyone fairly. That was my thing. So when it's time for everybody to do their homework, everyone doing their homework. When it's time to go to bed, everybody going to bed. Everybody doing everything together. But now, as a grandmother of 10, I realized how much individualism they needed. So, and what I mean by that is how everyone is sitting there doing their homework. One person might need it to be pulled aside to work on reading and things of that nature. So one of the things that young people go through, as well as us, is peer pressure. You know, being a part of the pressure of being a part of a group. And one thing that we could try to do is to make sure that they know that they're special and they're different. Everybody, God made everyone differently. And you, like you said, meet them where you're at. You're at a different place. Today I was in church and the pastor said that he said that, for a while he was like, oh, I'm not a successful pastor. I don't have as many members as everybody else and everything like that. Then he had to go back and say, God said, I didn't build you to be successful. I build you to be faithful. So everyone has their own calling. And for us, we have to, as leaders, we have to stop and try to find that calling for that particular person. So my one son who's 30 told me, oh, you kept pushing school. You kept pushing school. I wasn't a school person. I should have been working. And I'm looking like, for me as a parent, that's what I wanted to push. Our kids went to college together, right? We went together. And, and so on. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, some of them probably, would have went, further along with their degree. And then some may, I work for the post office. I have a degree, but I don't need a degree, And so those are some of the things that we have to do as parents, and some of the dreams that we have for ourselves. We can't pressure it and put it onto our young adults. And we have to meet, like you said, meet them where they're at and go from there. So I think individualism will help build the self-confidence and the leadership, and whatever leadership is in different things. I have a group of friends. It's like 5 or 6. Veronica, my real good friend. And sometimes individuals, you have, like I have a lot of friends with master's degrees and things of that nature. And so sometimes you may see like, oh, okay, they have more education than I do. But then a lot of times they call me for what I lead in. So everyone have their own leadership skills. And that's what we need to bring out for each individual person.
Okay, to help cultivate each child to focus on their strengths.
Yes.
And cover your weakness, because you got to have
weakness is their strengths. Exactly. And let them know it's okay to have weaknesses.
Yes.
But Keisha said.
Look, and I want a veggie back because I don't eat pork, so I'm gonna say veggie back on on what you said. The pastor said, "But faithful over few, ruler over many."
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so the next topic is on how can we preserve culture identity while continuing to innovate in business technology and promoting the arts. So how can we, one, for the kids that want to go get the education, encourage them for education. Next month for March, we're going to talk about the different trades, women in trades, of course, and how that's an option. And everybody is not made for school. That's fine. And everybody is not made for the trades. There's other entrepreneurs. Like there's different areas. Just find something you enjoy doing. And then let's have a conversation to figure out how can you generate an income from it. And how can we help you by using technology? Because it's here to stay. AI is here in different forms. They're using it for any and everything. So now we need to teach our children how to use it to assist them to cover whatever areas they might need assistance in.
I think that we need to expose them to more. As a parent, you only expose your children to what you know. By that is, building a community of people and different things like that. Going to the different museums and just different things. Because it's kind of like if your mother is a doctor, then you are a doctor. If your mother is accounting, then you're accounting, and so on and so on. But there's other things that we can expose our children to at a young age. And that's what we kind of need to do is more exposure. That's what I think.
Okay. So what is something we can, by taking them to the different museums, the plays. Okay. and because I don't think they have it in the schools or.
That's what I'm. Excuse me, Veronica. That's what I was about to. Yeah.
Some schools do, but some
Day when
schools
they
do, but not
different.
across the country. Not all schools do.
Yeah.
Because I know when I lived in California, they actually had in the school district that I lived in at the time, they had all these different programs for children as to talk about future career jobs they could possibly hold. So they had entrepreneurship, they had technology. I believe they had finance. They had all these different things that I didn't see when I was in Memphis. And I don't know, I don't think Memphis has these things, but I live in Memphis now. But my son goes to school over in Marion, Arkansas. And I believe they may have some of those programs there. I'm not 100% sure. But I know he really benefited from the programs that he was able to attend in California.
Yes.
So I got to check because I'm not for sure. My grandson only in second grade. If they're still doing that, because if not, how now
We can host one.
we can. That's true. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
At the library in Calumet City last week, I went. They had a Black History Month talking about different people in history. But how can we bring that local? Maybe that's something we should consider too.
One.
That's what Ernest and I were talking about. He's not on right now, but that's what we were talking about doing, especially with the skilled trades, just introducing the skilled trades and just having different workshops in different cities so that people and children can actually see the options that are out there, because some people may not even know what a pipe fitter is. They don't know what an iron worker does. So just to expose people, exposure is huge. So just to expose them to those certain things can actually change their mindset on different career paths they can possibly want to take.
That is so true. I'm gonna start by saying this. When they took Black History, I might as well say they took it out of the schools, just like they took the praying out of the schools.
Right.
And
the spanking.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So they're gonna forget about the history, and things to that nature, because it's not presented to them in front of them on a consistent, just like with others adults. If I'm not constantly working on something on a consistency, I'm gonna forget some things. But if it's in front of me more, like making it a lifestyle change or things of that nature, because we are the ones that's going to have to teach our grandchildren history. So it's not just falling, on them. It's going to, as we saying, it's falling on us as well. So I think that because there's so much history, it's not just a little, it's not just 1 month worth. It's ongoing. About we're going to use her for example. Madam C.J. Walker, what she done. Most young ladies in cosmetology school, they probably don't even know about her. And things to that nature. And I think if we constantly, just even on us right now, when we get on for next time, in January, we're going to say in March, just talk about one particular individual that was part of the history, or still just talk about our own history. If we keep it in front of people whomever listening to us now, it would help them think about it and give them an aha moment. Because my grandboys, their mother is working with them on that now. And she had me to implement with my oldest grandson about it. So I think if we just keep things more in front and keep adamant of the change, that's our way of implementing, change, not just in our lives, in our children's lives, but in other people's lives too. Because, like they saying about the DI, whatever the case, but we have to start somewhere. So we don't just start with boycotting this. Let's start by just all together, just changing everything that needs to be done to somewhat almost we can possibly take it back to where we were getting these things when we were younger. But just implement it slowly but surely. I think that'll be for the greater good of change. Bringing in history, because that's our history now. Back in the 70s and the 80s, that's still our history before the people. After the people have made different things to that nature. So I think if we can help bring it back, as you always say, I think that would be fantastic. We don't have to wait to just February.
And let me piggyback on that because I like what you're saying. Like sharing the different stories of what happened. So the person I want to mention this time is Harriet Tubman,
Mm-hmm.
because not only was she taking people to freedom, there are some people lost their lives because they got out and decided, I want to go back. Like, I'm not for sure where we going. I
Oh my
think I'm
God.
more comfortable going back. And she was like, well, if you go back, they're going to kill you. So I'm just going to say the time. So
Mm.
it's either you going forward with us, or hey, it's a wrap. It's history. Like, I'm just gonna pull the trigger because it's no way you can't go back.
Yeah.
And that's, we need to share those stories as well. Yes, they're not as powerful, but in life, sometimes you gotta let the past go. And the future is dark and it's undetermined, but it's only
Mm.
dark for a short period of time. On that other side, the daybreak, the sun gonna shine again. So yeah, so we do have to incorporate that in our conversations to let because now we are the grandparents. We're the ones that has to share the stories. We didn't have YouTube and Facebook when we were growing up, because now this gonna be around for history. That's why I say, hey, my legacy
Mm-hmm.
is starting. They're gonna hear my stories from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can do, we can have live shows where we actually have the children on. You know, a lot of times, Veronica sent me her podcast when she was a guest, and I sat and I did it for 45 minutes. And my kids, they grown, so we have a group chat. So some of the key things she said, I was able to text them. So when we're on these Zooms, we have all these ideas. But soon when we get off, it's like reality hits. And then we don't really translate it to the children like we want to. So I think that's one of the things that we should be pushing for, people to invite their children on these so we can, hear them out and find different ways for their age to, like, we should have people their age to know how to get to them. Because we can do it all day long as grandmas and
That
say
is
what
true.
we think it should be. But
But
we should invite more kids onto the onto the Zoom that we feel the age group that we're really trying to connect to. And then they'll invite their friends and they'll feel important to give because they think they're grown anyway, right? So let's get them some grown up responsibilities. And then, and then they'll invite their friends and so on and classmates, and let's give them something to talk about.
Awesome. You know what? That brings up a good point. One of the young ladies that's in the trade, she's going to come up. Her name is Jazz. She has a nonprofit where they get together and they have the teenagers
mm,
come and ask our generation whatever questions they want to ask. And then she says she have from 65 to like 102 another program where we get to ask
mm,
our
mm.
grandparents or the older people 65 to 102 any questions we want. So she gave me an example. She was like, one of the young ladies, she's about 16 years old. And, they had the moment where she was asking her, well, I just want to know why I'm only 16 years old. My mama is treating me like I'm 25 years old. Like, it's a lot of pressure. I can't cope with it. And she was like, okay. So after they asked the questions, now she was able to answer. She was like, so let me tell you this, beloved. Your mom realized for the first 15 years of your life, she babied you. And she didn't teach you the things that you're going to need to survive in this world. So now she realized she only got 2 to 3 years left with you in her household. So she's trying to cram everything in because she didn't teach you this stuff while you were younger. So she was like, so I was able to explain. She's like, well, yes, that's true. I understand that, but it's overwhelming. It's too much for me now. So I like that concept and what she were doing. I was like, that's a very good thing because some people don't know who to talk to. They don't have that parent or that grandparent. They can ask those questions too. So
That's true.
I told her, hey, when that's coming up, let me know. Like, I want to be a part of that. That's going to be amazing. And if we can record it and put it so other people get to hear and share it, because one person might ask the question, but how many other teenagers feel that way? Or the fact that I had to raise my siblings because my mother was out doing something else. I didn't have these children. Like, I don't want this responsibility.
Mm.
And we need to give them that space to let them know it's okay for the way you're feeling. And I'm sorry what you had to go through. How can we make it a little easier moving forward? Because we can't change the past, but we can make preparations to make the future a little lighter.
Yeah.
But
I would even say, even in those moments to where you have a young lady, let's just take that person and ask that question, you explain to them just the benefit of being in that role as a supporting role to their mother, to where they can learn the things that maybe their mother didn't have an opportunity to learn in that moment to when she became a mother. So that's a great space for her to be. And, sometimes we always want to go and look at the negative first. And those are the things that we pull out of it. But even in a negative situation, there's always something positive that comes out of it. So what I try to do whenever I talk to young children or to, just the kids when I go into the schools, and I get questions like that, I always try to find the positive in those questions because there's always something positive in any situation, even when we don't think it is. And it's always about exposure. Like you talk about just exposing kids to a platform like that to where they feel vulnerable enough to even ask those questions or safe enough to where they can get the answer from the person that they trust. And I'm going to say that me being an electrician for 30 years, one question I always get is, are you a real electrician? Well, I hope so, because my license says it and all the buildings that I helped to build. But just me going into the schools and people seeing someone that's like them and saying, okay, that's something that I can do. So it's just that little bit of exposure that if we just go ahead and take that time to just whatever skill or whatever your gift is, if you expose the children to that, you never know how it could impact someone to go and do something great with the rest of their life.
No, that is so true. That is, yes. Definitely.
Ladies, I'm gonna have to go. Sorry, this is such a good topic, and I don't want to go. But my next meeting is starting,
All
so
right.
I will talk to you all. I
Okay,
will
have a
talk
good
to
one.
you all later. Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks. See you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so yeah, we're winding it up. But yeah, no, this is such a good topic. And I like what you suggested, Melody. We do need to invite some younger people and let them share their take on, because history is forming every day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we can share our history, and we want to learn from what they're doing because we're still here with them, and like kind of bridge the gap a little to let them know it ain't too much different.
And got to make it interesting for them to want to learn it and to want to understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let me, Keisha, do you have anything that's coming up that you want to share with everyone?
Right now, I am, what is this? Maybe 15, what is it? No, 12 days left. I have just I'm giving a free flight assessment. I shouldn't say free, complimentary flight assessment for people who actually book clarity calls with me. And what the flight assessment is, it's a personality assessment that helps to break down who you are inside and why you are that way. So I think it's something that helped me. I've talked about it on previous episodes. And they go to my link tree. You'll see at the top of the link tree where it says book a clarity call, and you'll get a complimentary flight assessment.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, this is
Yep, that's it right there. KTE 21
awesome.
for Keisha the electrician. KTE 21 on Linktree. That's my Linktree.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Melanie, do you have any final words?
Oh, it was a pleasure being on today. I hope you guys invite me back again. And I look forward to it. And I will pass along the information to my children as well as any other kids that I see. So it has been a pleasure to be on with you ladies.
Oh, thank you. Well, what do I have coming up this week? I'm preparing for the Single Parents Conference, which is May 17th. We're going to be at the Dorchester. where we're going to focus on children that's on the autism spectrum. I want to provide tools, techniques, and resources for the parents. So one, they're going to hear information from parents who's actually going through this, or there's a young lady, her child is 30, so she's been through it. I'm going to speak from the perspective of, I have a 4-year-old grandson. I have another young lady, Jennifer. Her son is 10. He's on the autism spectrum. So we're going to share our viewpoints. So if you know anyone or some information about autism that you want to share, I'm going to put my information, send me a DM. So therefore I can include it, or some information that you interested in. Share it with me so we can research it and have that conversation. Keisha, do you have any final words?
Oh, you made me think of something when you said the 17th. I have my youngest child who will be 18 on the 18th. And one thing that we are doing this year, his father and I, is that we're asking people to give him only $18. So I'm not asking for that right now, but $18, and to also give him some words of encouragement going into his adult years. So people who follow me on Facebook, please, please, please. He already think he's grown at 17. But going into a manhood, to hear from men, to have men encourage him, I really would. It's not even about the $18. It's more so about the encouragement. But just to give those words of encouragement. So anybody who's listening to this, male or female, my son, he's gonna need it because he don't like listening to mama. So words of encouragement just to keep that future generation going.
Oh, I love that. That's okay. I'm not taking do something with that. That makes sense. Okay, sounds good. Well, hey, thank you all for tuning in this week. Weekly check-in, Life Unscripted. Just us sharing our viewpoints, what's going on in our lives, and hopefully this information can help you. Pass it on. Let's share the link. Until next week, enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.